Welcome to Only Good Heroes. I'm your host, Lucia Nazzaro. And on this show, we are highlighting incredible people and organizations making a huge impact in their communities and our world. On today's show, I'm so honored to welcome the co-founders of Cookies for Caregivers, Jeremy Uhrich and Scott McKenzie. Jeremy, Scott, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
So on Only Good Heroes, we focus on people, places, businesses that do good, right? That come from the heart. And I was drawn to your organization because I personally have volunteered for your organization. But for those that don't know, and before we get into that, what is Cookies for Caregivers and how did it come to be?
Cookies for Caregivers kind of came out of the beginning of the pandemic when everybody was terrified to do anything. I happen to have been furloughed from my job. I've since been recalled, but I was furloughed from my job. And Jeremy was, as a teacher, working remotely from home. Being almost 59 years old and being furloughed, I thought to myself, good grief, what's going to become of me? What is this pandemic going to do to my wife and I, to our family, to our plans? And I realized I had a choice to make. I could either hang my head and say, woe is me, or I could go ahead and make it something good out of it. So I decided that I was going to do something I had never done before every week while I was on furlough. I was going to try to improve myself by just doing something I'd never done before. And I was hungry. So I grabbed the big red Betty Crocker cookbook, opened up the chocolate chip cookie page, and made myself a batch of cookies from scratch. Never done that before. And like everybody my age, when we do anything we're proud of or happy with, we have to put a picture on Facebook about it. So, and next thing you know, I hear from a friend of mine, Jeremy, and he says,
how ironic is that? I definitely, my cookies are better than yours. Let's have a challenge. And then Scott responded.
I said, let's find some first responders to be the judges to see which of our cookies is the best. And then I realized quickly that living in a small town like Huntingdon, your first responders usually don't respond until there's an emergency. They don't kind of hang around the firehouse. So we had to kind of pivot from there, and we ended up at our mayor's office in the borough of Huntingdon. Jeremy had gotten one of his student athletes from his girls basketball team to join in, and she cheated. She cheated because she kept referencing her grandmother's recipe, and once I knew that grandma's recipe was being used, it was all over for us.
So after this happened, how did it transition into a permanent organization?
There's about 110 different groups like ours in 41 states, I think, and Canada. And we're producing and giving about 3,000 dozen cookies away per week. That was always one of our initial goals, was to see if we could grow this outside of Huntingdon. With the help of tremendous media coverage, it started with People magazine grabbing hold of the story. Next thing you know, we're on Rachel Ray, then we're on the Today Show. Washington Post is calling. CNN is calling. Everybody wants to talk to the cookie dads to find out how this whole thing began. And that just exploded. And that's how all of a sudden we were getting Facebook messages from folks in different states. We'd like to start one here. Jeremy's mom and dad started the first group outside of Huntingdon in his hometown of Palmyra by Hershey, PA. And then Arizona started, and then Chicago, and then all of a sudden, boom, it was like a virus of kindness took over the country.
For sure.
What have been some of the stories that you've heard or responses that you've even experienced firsthand?
You know, when you get responses like, I've just got done working a 12, 13, 14-hour shift at a hospital, and I barely had time to sit down and eat a meal, but I knew that those cookies were going to be in the break room because we have delivered to our hospital every week except for the first week, every week straight. And to hear from, you know, a nurse that if it wasn't for you, I probably wouldn't have eaten. I just didn't have the time, rushing around and the stress, you know, just knowing for maybe a 15, 20-minute, half-hour lunch break that these folks can break away from their stress, from their worries, from their fear, and to sit down like Scott and I do while we're driving and to socialize and bond and just break away from that everyday worry and stress is what it's all about. The responses are wonderful. People love receiving. Scott and I get the same out of it by giving.
I think it just shows how just a small, simple act of kindness can change your outlook, not only on your day, but just in general on humanity.
We've always said it shouldn't have taken a pandemic. It shouldn't take something to that degree to cause people to say, let me go thank somebody with some cookies or lasagnas or whatever it may be. This should be the norm. This is a great lesson for everybody, whether it's young or old, whether it's children or adults. Learn how to be kind. We can make this world a better place.
If people want to donate or get involved, how can they reach Cookies for Caregivers? Because it sounds like this is going to continue far past today and the endemic that we're in.
I would agree. And anybody can find us on Facebook. We're also have a presence on Twitter and Instagram. There is a website being created, and it will be www.cookiesforcaregivers.org.
Since this show is all about heroes and honoring heroes like you in communities, who are your heroes?
I would think my parents. I've lost both of them recently. I lost my mother in July, right in the middle of this whole thing, and I wasn't able to see her for the last 4 months of her life. She always taught us to come together as a community or come together as a family. They really instilled in me the fact that everybody is equal. And therefore, if everybody's equal, then we're all deserving of the same recognition. So I hope to make them proud with everything that we do.
Okay,
thanks, Scott. Jeremy.
I'm gonna have to cheat and go with the same answer. My parents. I believe that I'm the person that I am because of them. I was raised by very, very hard workers. She's worked 2, maybe even 3 jobs, raising 4 children and putting them all through college. My father, we just joked around this weekend, he worked his second job probably for 15 to 17 years. So I had 2 parents who worked double or triple jobs to not for themselves. It was for their kids, to help their kids. So I get that work ethic, and I get the, just being kind, being caring, being thoughtful. I get all that from them, and I praise them and recognize them for that. Also, my father has stage 4 lung cancer. And he's a very faithful individual, and he's been battling this, and he has used the Cookies for Caregivers as a very big therapeutic opportunity for him. He loves hearing about what we did early on, and he wanted to start his group, and they're only about 10 weeks behind where we are. So my parents, I want to put a plug in there for my wife as well, because she's amazing. She's been very supportive. Both of our wives have throughout this, just dealing with cookies all over the house, not being able to get to certain things in the house, just the support that I get from my wife, the loving support and care and everything she does for me and for my 2 boys. And again, Scott's wife, Renata, for everything that she's done to help out as well. So
since you've been asked before what your favorite cookie is, let me just ask you this then. What's your favorite Italian treat? Doesn't even need to be a cookie, since we do make the best desserts. Just throwing that out there.
And you're not wrong. You're not wrong at all. I think a good cannoli can make anybody happy.
Yes, agree. Or ricotta pie.
Oh my goodness.
I like tiramisu.
Jeremy, Uhrich, Scott, McKenzie, thank you so much for joining us and for all the work that you're doing for your communities, and really for all the communities nationwide and internationally that are a part of Cookies for Caregivers.
Well, thank you very much for having us, and thank you for joining our Connecticut group.
Thank you for being a part. It's awesome. It's very exciting.
And for more Only Good Heroes, make sure to check out OnlyGood.tv. You can find us on Instagram at OnlyGood.tv. We'll be back soon with more Only Good Heroes.